The battle in Washington over reducing the deficit and raising the debt ceiling rages on as lawmakers duke it out in Washington. We're going to have our own debate this morning here in the Inside Track. It's a battle Timothy Bitsberger has fought before. Tim was a senior Treasury official in the Bush administration. He is now a managing director at BNP Paribas. And our friend Terrence Keeley is still here. He's a Bloomberg contributor and senior managing principal at Sovereign Trends. So, gentlemen, let's talk about the implications of Tom Coburn's departure from the Gang of Six. He was always going to be a key member, right? He is a fiscal hawk. He's the Republican senator from Oklahoma. He's gone, and now he says he's going to have his own deficit reduction proposal, more than twice the size of what Paul Ryan has proposed for the Republican Party and what the president has proposed from the White House. Big deal or not, Tim?
I think it's a big deal to the degree that there were 6 adults in the room that wanted to kind of solve this problem in a mature, kind of timely, thoughtful way. The fact that he's leaving, I think it just means that this can, as they say, just gets kicked down the road for the time being.
And so Joe Biden's efforts and the Gang of Five, as you would term it now, are going to go nowhere.
Well, the Obama administration has never really shown the willingness to negotiate. So I view the Biden initiative as I'm less optimistic on that. I suppose there's always a chance that Coburn could rejoin the Gang of Five, or the Gang of Five could come up with a credible plan. But I'm a little cynical right now.
Terry, you say it doesn't matter as much that we can rise above the horse trading in Washington. Why is that?
I'll be clear on that. I don't think there was any chance for the Gang of Six from the beginning. I think its falling apart is lamentable, Tim. I don't disagree with you that, but I think it was inevitable. In March 18th, the president received a letter signed by 64 senators, 2/3 of this august body, 32 Republicans, 32 Democrats. It said, you need to be involved. The greatest fiscal crisis of our time needs leadership from the White House. And when the Biden Commission was established, which was the president's response to that, he is one heartbeat away from the presidency, right? It sucked all the air out of the Gang of Six room. What are the Gang of Six supposed to do when they know the vice president is deliberating some other over at Blair House, coming up with his own plan? They needed to put this in mothballs. If I understand Tim, Coburn says he's on a sabbatical. He hasn't quit. And we have to see what the vice president can do.
So Coburn could come back.
Gang of Six is not dead. The Gang of Six is in abeyance until we see what the Biden Commission can accomplish.
What about the implications of Coburn's own proposal? Here's a man who commands some respect. There was a reason that he was a member of the Gang of Six to begin with, because these were the guys, these were the gentlemen, as you put it, Tim, who could actually get something done when partisan rancor prevented anybody else from coming to any kind of an agreement. He's now putting a $9 trillion figure on the table. Does that help or hurt the process?
I think it's tough to say. It's hard to say what's a negotiation and what's a real proposal.
Posturing?
And what's posturing. I do think, though, that it's. I remain very skeptical of the fact that he kind of left that group and is going out on his own. I think that's the bigger issue. And I do think these are problems that unfortunately can be put off. Right now, Right now, the U.S. is spending about 2% of GDP to service its debt. Its debt payments. That was as high as 3.5% about 15 years ago. The entitlement issues are ones that, again, can be put off. So everything I see is just kind of this inevitable ending of where nothing's going to happen until after the elections.
Is it all about Medicare, Medicaid? Because if you look at Coburn's departure, it seems like it's that one issue.
Well, I also think it's about the level of interest rates. So right now, we're financing the current deficit and the debt outstanding at de minimis interest rate levels. In the future, should those interest rate levels rise, then
people will feel the panic.
Then that's when you're going to have to respond.
There is no solution without a Medicare solution, Deirdre. As we know, Medicare rises from 6% of GDP to 22% of GDP if we do nothing. There is no fiscal solution without Medicare.
Terry, one of the interesting things about Tom Coburn's op-ed today in the Washington Post explaining his withdrawal from the Gang of Six is the mention of Erskine Bowles and I'm forgetting his
Alan Simpson.
Simpson, pardon me. So the Bowles-Simpson Commission seems to have been forgotten by everybody except Tom Coburn. Why isn't the Bowles-Simpson recommendations more a part of the conversation?
Tim will probably want to respond to this too, but I actually think quite a few of the important elements of Simpson-Bowles were included in the Ryan Plan, in the Path to Prosperity. For example, the entire tax code revision embraced the eliminate the tax expenditures and lower the rates.
Okay.
That's a Simpson.
No, that's a very fair point.
Okay.
But why would Tom Coburn? I guess my question to you is, help us understand, parse his language. Why would he make reference to Simpson-Bowles as opposed to the budget proposal from his own party, from Paul Ryan?
What he wrote in the op-ed, which I just read, is that he was trying to improve upon Simpson-Bowles in actual fact. I think that everyone knows the closest we've gotten to a bipartisan agreement was the Simpson-Bowles plan. Why that was subjected, Tim may know, to a supermajority vote rather than a straight majority vote was perhaps a tactical mistake. We should have put Simpson-Bowles up for an up or down vote.
Talking about Tom Coburn's withdrawal from the Gang of Six, what it means, and of course the greater discussion around the debt ceiling and the deficit. One of the things that Tom Coburn writes today in the Washington Post is, I wouldn't even say right, he castigates his fellow senators, and in particular Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, for failing to show leadership in this discussion. So if you agree that the Senate has abdicated responsibility here, are we getting enough leadership from everybody else? There doesn't seem to be any shred of an agreement yet. That's why Tom Coburn left between the Democrats and the Republicans. Tim?
No, there's no leadership on this issue. I mean, Tom Coburn and Paul Ryan, I think they're the ones that are showing the leadership. They're the ones that are putting a lot of different options on the table for debate. It's unfortunate that there's been no follow-through, either through Harry Reid or through the White House.
But is leadership walking away? That's not leadership.
That's not leadership, no. As you're correct, they're not fulfilling their responsibilities.
Can you force leadership, though, by just doing a clean debt ceiling vote?
Clean debt ceiling vote would be the worst of all possible outcomes,
Why?
Deirdre. Well, listen, the creditworthiness is about two things: the ability to pay and the willingness to pay, right? What is absolutely clear is that we are all willing to pay, but if we do not address our multi-trillion-dollar permanent red ink problem, we will not have the ability to pay in the future.
And Tim, you've seen this song before,
yes.
right?
I mean, what the debt ceiling is, it's a chance for the party not in power to review the economic policies of the current president. And that's what we're seeing play out here in real time. So the Republicans are going to extract as much as they possibly can in this debate, as they probably should.
Is the balance of power, in your opinions, gentlemen, shifting towards the White House right now, or shifting towards the Republican Party, which is to say, who's going to flinch first?
The polls run 3-1 against a clean debt ceiling vote.
Oh, not so much on the clean debt ceiling vote, just on a debate in general.
I believe Americans are united, and Democrats and Republicans are united in the idea that these deficits have to come down. So let's, Erik, find 218 votes in the House, get this debt ceiling passed by making a down payment on that.
Right.
We have to end it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Tim
Thank
Bitsberger of BNP Paribas, Terrence Keeley of Sovereign Trends, both of them here debating the debt ceiling and the deficit.